Hello everyone and welcome to Willow Cove Crafts, my channel here on YouTube where I talk about knitting and sewing and my other crafty endeavors. My name is Emily. You can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, leave it a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Today's video is going to be all about my winter knitting and sewing plans. The sad reality is that fall is over. Now, I know technically winter doesn't actually start until December 21st because of the solstice or whatever people will tell you, but I don't believe it. Everyone knows that winter is the months of December, January, and February. You know it in your heart. Don't let astronomers lie to you anymore. December is a winter month, and you will never convince me otherwise. Anyways, I have put together my list of things that I am hoping to work on over the next 3 months. This is a video series I am hoping to start doing seasonally, and I wanted to be very intentional with the projects I picked. I don't want this to be a video of the things I hope to make this winter or that I would like to make this winter, because the reality is I would like to make literally hundreds of knitting and sewing patterns. I really took some time, took a step back and thought long and hard about what my top desires were, what projects I most wanted to work on, and then the reality of a 3-month time span. How much do I really think I could get done in 3 months? And I put together this list. So today I'm gonna talk you through the different patterns I plan on making, both knitting and sewing, and talk about how long I think they're gonna take me, why I picked them, and what yarn I'm gonna use. Everything I talk about today, I picked specifically because I was able to pull materials out of my yarn and fabric stash to make them. So everything's completely from stash. And yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm excited to see at the end of the season how much of this I accomplish. I hope I was kind of accurate in my timing estimates, but I guess we'll see. This is the first time I'm really doing this. So without further ado, let's get started. Into things today, I wanted to let you know what I am wearing. This is the Whitehorse sweater by Caitlin Hunter, otherwise known as Boil and Knitworks, and I knit it. It's a worsted weight sweater. I believe I knit it out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in Bamboo Heather, I want to say. I did make a few modifications to the sweater, so let me stand up. Whoop. The original sweater is definitely more cropped. I lengthened it a bit, and the sleeves are different. The original has more of a 3/4 length sleeve. They maybe go down to here, and they're a different shape. They're more of a balloon sleeve. They've definitely got a little bit of a poof at the end. I just did regular sleeves. I kind of just figured out how long my sleeve needed to be, and then figured out how big the circumference needed to be, and then evenly decreased down the whole sleeve to just do a more standard sleeve. But yeah, that is what I am wearing, in case you were wondering. I dare someone to tell me that it is still fall out. It has been flurrying here for a week straight. I'm not even exaggerating. It's been ridiculous. The first project on my winter knitting list is my current work in progress, which is the Culm pullover by Fiona Alice. I haven't shown this on the channel yet. I'm going to talk about more of the, nitty-gritty details of it during next week's episode, where I talk about what I worked on in the month of November. But I did think I would show you real quick what my progress is. So it is a bottom-up drop shoulder textured sweater. And I am knitting this out of a fingering weight yarn. It is the Kinross 4-ply by Wee County Yarns. This is the colorway Mare. It's really getting blown out, but it is more of a cooler red. Maybe if I hold it back, I feel like this is much more accurate than when I hold it up here. So in real life, the sweater is about this color. I started this sweater maybe about 3 weeks ago. I saw it on Instagram and immediately loved it and thought that I must have it and that it must be my Christmas sweater for the year. So I cast it on. It is taking a very long time. I anticipate that I will probably be working on this well into the month of December. I'm actually a little nervous so I've been working on this monogamously, and despite that, I am wondering if I'm gonna get it done by Christmas. It's a very tedious pattern. It's fingering weight, it's all over texture. And yeah, this is about 3 weeks of monogamous knitting. So if I had to estimate, I would say that this is gonna also be my December project. I'm gonna be working on this for another month and a half. So again, in terms of my tentative timelines of what I expect to get done, I do think this is probably gonna be my December project. Sorry, I'm distracted because it is really snowing right now. It was supposed to stop. It's been flurrying for a week straight. I'm not even kidding. The weather says every day that it's not gonna snow, and then it's been flurrying. I have a little roundabout outside of my apartment window that I can see, and I'm distracted because cars keep coming up and kind of sliding. Okay, that's my random rant. Let's carry on with the show. Just so we're all on the same page, it was not supposed to snow today, but here we are. After I finished my Christmas sweater, I feel like my knitting options or my knitting choices become very representative of how I feel about winter. Once Christmas is over, winter is just this gray, melancholic time for me. January and February are the worst. I know some people like them, but no. So I didn't even quite realize that all of the patterns and yarns I picked out are very gray and neutral, very rustic. I'm really trying to channel this winter woods cabin sadness that is the general feeling I have around winter. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone but me, but that is the theme, apparently. So I'm assuming I will finish the Culm pullover towards the end of December, maybe early January. And once I'm done with that, I will be looking to cast on a new sweater. And the thing that I really, really am wanting to do, again, there are hundreds of sweaters that I want to make, but I kind of tried to narrow in on the general category I wanted to work on. And the thing I want to work on the most this winter is a new colorwork sweater. And once I figured that out and kind of settled on that, I was thinking about specific patterns, and there is a designer that I have been lusting after for the better part of a year. I'm constantly looking at her page, constantly looking at her Instagram, and I love pretty much every sweater pattern she puts out, and that is Wei Qian of the Petite knitter. She, to me, is like the quintessential colorwork designer. I love her patterns. I love her whole aesthetic. She does a lot of neutrals when she knits, and again, it just really jives with this vibe of deep, cold winter. And that's what I'm leaning into this year. So I went and had a look at Wei Qian's page, and I have yarn for several of her sweaters. So I just I'm spoiled for choice. I was like, which one will I start with? And I settled on the Evergrey sweater. It's this beautiful circular colorwork yoke. It's got corrugated ribbing, which looks really cool. I hate knitting corrugated ribbing, but I'm gonna suffer through it for this sweater. And the yarn I picked for it is, I have these 3 colors of Rauma 3-ply, Rauma Strikkegarn. Let me hold them up for you. This is easier. So the colors, the main color is gonna be 101, which is a cream. And then my 2 contrasting colors that will be used in the colorwork yoke are 106 and 111. So this is kind of a mid-tone beige, and then this is a darker brown beige. I really like that both of my contrast colors are heathered. I feel like that will make it look even more rustic. So yes, plan on knitting this in January. I feel like, so it's GK weight, I think it'll take me maybe a month is my estimate. But yes, Evergrey sweater by the Petite knitter. Go check it out. Her patterns are stunning, and I cannot wait to knit one. Something else I want to incorporate when I am planning my seasonal knitting projects is to start looping back around to some of my unfinished whips. If you've been watching the last several weeks, you'll know that I have been doing a series where I go through all of my unfinished projects. This month, November, I went through all of my sweaters. Next month in December, I'm gonna be going through all of my shawls, so stay tuned for that. But, I'm deciding if I wanna keep things or frog things, and the things that I keep, obviously, I need to get back to them. So I want to, every season, go back to at least one of my unfinished projects. Sorry, my nose just got really stuffy all of a sudden. I would like to go back to one of my unfinished projects. I do think that is probably a good pace for me. I love casting on. I am no fool and am not kidding myself that I'm gonna knit all of my unfinished sweaters in one go. No, that's definitely not gonna work for me. I need to be casting things on So I think quarterly is probably a good pace to come back to at least one of my unfinished projects. So I had a look at my sweaters that I am keeping from my last two videos. Definitely go check those out if you are interested. And I picked the most melancholy, sad one of the bunch, which is my Jensen cardigan. I love this pattern. I don't mean to call it melancholy and sad, but it is brown. So, again, it's just a feeling. So, I previously had been knitting the Jensen cardigan by September Knits. I believe that designer's name is Rachel. And I am knitting this out of 2 strands of Holst Supersoft in the Pebble colorway. Holding yarn up, I have a big window right here and things get really blown out. I think the color is much more accurate if I hold it back like this. And then it comes into the light and it gets really blown out. But anyways, it's this like gray brown, a very sad color. It's one of my favorite colors. I love neutrals, but you know, again, I'm leaning into it. All right. So I started this in February of this year, and I think it's time to get back around to it. So I think this bit that I had knit maybe took me like a week and a half. The gauge on this sweater is very loose, and so it goes pretty fast, and it is at a DK weight. I am using a fingering weight yarn, but again, holding it double to make a DK weight. It's knit at a pretty loose gauge. I think once I pick this back up again, I would estimate it would probably take me 2 or 3 weeks to finish. It's very simple. It grows pretty quickly. We'll say 2 to 3 weeks. So looking out, that would mean that I probably will start this at the beginning of February and hopefully finish it before the month of February is over. So that's project number 3. And that, by my estimates, will probably bring us close to the end of February. So I needed one more project to have on deck, just in case I have a little bit of extra time at the end of the winter season. And another designer that has really been catching my eye lately is Natasja Hornby, also known as Moonstruck Knits. She mostly, well, I wouldn't say mostly, she does a lot of shawls. And her shawls are just these beautiful, she incorporates a lot of mosaic knitting. Her shawls are very graphic, multicolored, and they're stunning. I, again, look through her page a lot and think, wow, I would make every single one of these patterns. They're all super gorgeous. Which one will I possibly start with? So yeah, I really have been wanting to knit one of her shawls. So I just picked one. I have yarn to knit several of her shawls. So again, spoiled for choice. Where will I start? But I did want this to be like the season that I finally got around to knitting one of her shawls. So I am going to be knitting the Mare shawl. And I picked colors that were very similar to the original. So my main color, so the whole shawl is going to be knit out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft. Back this up so you could see more realistic color. So my main color is going to be cast iron, which is their black. It looks dark gray on the screen, but it is black. And then Sweatshirt, which is a medium gray. And I'm really excited about this. I have another shawl knit out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft, the Rauma shawl by Andrea Mowry, and I absolutely love this yarn in a shawl. It's very warm and lightweight. The shawl, because the yarn is so light, the shawl doesn't like hang funny. I find sometimes shawls, especially when they're knit in superwash yarns, they can get a little heavy and like they just hang a little funny. Whereas like something like Brooklyn Tweed Loft, the shawl just like, it like stands tall and proud. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a really great yarn to knit shawls out of if you've never tried it. So I wear that Rauma shawl all the time. It's probably my favorite shawl I've ever made. And so I'm really looking forward to making another shawl out of the Brooklyn Tweed Loft. And the Mare pattern is beautiful. Again, it's, you know, mosaic knitting. I've heard people call it the pretzel shawl because the design kind of looks like this really intricate pretzel. Yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely stunning. And this one might bleed over into the springtime, but that's okay. I'm obviously not going to finish projects exactly at the end of winter. Like there's going to be some crossover, but hopefully within my 3-month time period, I will be able to get to this one and get it started. This is definitely the last one I will work on. I know that I tend to like knitting shawls in the late winter, spring. So I'm gonna definitely work on knocking out some of those sweaters, and then this will be kind of my maybe project. Yes, really excited about this one. And that's it for knitting. It's only 4 projects, but again, I wanted to be really realistic. I watched some of these like seasonal making videos. I really like them. That's why I'm making my own. But I feel like I sometimes get overwhelmed by them because people are like, here are 10 to 15 knitting projects I intend to work on over the next 3 months. And I'm like, excuse me? You think you're gonna finish 10 projects in the next 3 months? Some people can. And I find that incredible, but I cannot. I'm a pretty slow knitter. I've got other stuff going on. I do think, if I'm being honest and realistic, I will maybe finish these 4 things. I actually think I'll probably only finish the 3 sweaters and then I'll get started on the shawl. But like that is realistically what I can get done in 3 months. And so again, I'm trying to be really mindful, really intentional, and just like, you know, I don't want people to feel discouraged by like the amount of things that other people seem to knit. You know, I definitely do. I feel like some people are just like so fast and they're turning out sweaters every couple weeks, and you know, you see it on social media and you're like, why can't I knit that fast? Like, is that normal? Should I be knitting that fast? And I think the answer is no. I definitely don't knit that fast. And, you know, just like slowing down and enjoying your knits and also enjoying the rest of your life. It's okay to not be knitting constantly. You know, put your knitting aside and enjoy time with your family and friends. Like, that's fine too. You know, play with your kids. Watch TV without knitting. I definitely sometimes watch TV without knitting. Not often, but it does happen. And just like, yeah, enjoying your knitting and enjoying your time and doing it when you feel like, and don't feel like you have to just like churn out knitting for the sake of like keeping up with other people. Yeah, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This is like a complete tangent. But anyways, let's talk about sewing next. I do have a couple sewing projects that I'm hoping to do over the next couple months. All right, let's talk about sewing. I have had a bit of a sewing dry spell. I've just been working on a lot of like deadline knitting, or yeah, not really deadline knitting, but like self-imposed, you know, I feel like I need to finish this by this date sort of knitting. And I probably haven't touched my sewing machine in like 2 months, I would estimate. And I would like to change that. I do really love sewing, but knitting is my first love. I love knitting more, if I'm being honest. But I do like quilting, I do like sewing garments, and I want to make sure I'm getting to some of those things. Maybe not to the extent that I'm getting to my knitting, but I do think it would be nice to maybe take like one day a week or one day every other week and make sure that I'm committing that to sewing, because I do really enjoy it. It's just this like hard thing for me to balance. So I did pick out a couple projects that I want to work on over the winter season. Firstly, and let me explain, I guess this kind of goes with two of my sewing projects, but I am a beginner garment sewer. I'm an absolute novice. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. And I am constantly trying to try new things when it comes to garment sewing. Garment sewing really intimidates me. Even now, after, I've made maybe 10 or so garments, and I'm still really intimidated by it. There's so much left to learn and to, really hone my skills on. So because it's so intimidating, I try to like limit the amount of new skills I use in a certain project. And so I'm like very mindful about my sewing projects of like, how hard do I think it's gonna be? Do I feel like semi-confident that I can sew this thing? And like maybe introducing like a small little skill. Anyways, I've been rambling. My new skill this winter is one that I've been avoiding, but I really, really want to try and tackle it this year. And that is sewing with knit fabric. So if you are unfamiliar, fabric can be constructed in like one of two ways. I think it's only two ways. It's either woven, so like things are, in a woven structure, very horizontal and vertical, or it's a knit construction, very similar to knitted fabric. There's, if you look really closely, the fibers are looped together like a knitting would be. It's exactly the same structure. It's very tiny, but it's the same structure. And knit fabrics tend to be stretchy, and there's a lot of considerations when sewing with knit fabric because of the extra stretch that they have. And I've been afraid of it, but I've been watching lots of tutorials, I've been doing lots of research, and I think I'm ready to try sewing with knit fabric. So I think I'm actually gonna vlog about it. I think that would be really fun to just like take you along with me as I try it for the first time, like a little sew with me, but also like, this is just me trying something for the first time, stepping out of my comfort zone. But anyways, that was a really long-winded introduction to the first two sewing projects I have planned. So let's just get into that. That's kind of my why, but yeah, let me talk specifics for you. The first thing I am going to sew, and these are like very basic patterns. Again, the skill is just sewing with this type of fabric. I'm keeping it simple, trying to set myself up for success, but I am gonna be sewing the Lark t-shirt. I'll put it on the screen, the exact name, but it is a pattern by Grainline Studio, and it is a basic t-shirt pattern. I'm gonna be doing a long sleeve version, and I'm gonna be using this. It's this light heathered gray. It's a cotton jersey, which is a knit fabric. And yeah, it's just gonna be like the most simple, basic gray t-shirt, but this is the type of clothes I wear. And that's why I really wanna get into sewing with knit fabric, because when I look at like my store-bought wardrobe and the types of clothes I naturally gravitate towards, like I'm a jeans and t-shirt type of person. And so sewing my own t-shirts, whilst it might not be the most glamorous thing, it is the thing that I am most likely to wear. So simple gray t-shirt, Lark pattern. That's what I'm gonna do. Again, it shouldn't take long. Sewing a simple t-shirt is a pretty quick process, so I'm hoping to take a day or two in December and sew this up. And yeah, I think I'm gonna vlog about it. I think that would be really fun. So more to come on that. And then hopefully all goes well. You know, I don't expect to get it perfect the first time, but hopefully I'm not entirely discouraged. But then in January, I would like to use this beautiful fabric. It's, again, everything is blown out, but it's kind of a deep mustard yellow. Again, it's a cotton jersey. It's a little bit thicker than the other one, but I would like to make the Monroe Turtleneck by Tessuti Fabrics. Again, it's like just a little bit of a step up. It's still a pretty simple kind of t-shirt top pattern, but it's got a turtleneck, which I've never done before. So that's, you know, kind of my progression that I plan. And I'm adding a little bit of color into my wardrobe. This is, you know, something a little more fun for January, a little more not melancholy. But yes, both of these fabrics I purchased from Blackbird Fabrics, which is a really, really amazing online fabric store for garment type fabrics. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in starting a garment sew. Really good selection. Oh my God, okay, the sun just came out and it's like still kind of flurrying and it's beautiful. I don't always hate winter, to be clear. It is like pretty outside, I must admit. The last sewing project I hope to work on this winter is, if you have been watching for at least several months, you may remember that I have been working on a patchwork quilt for my bed, and I would like to get back to it. I really need a new quilt for my bed. And I by no means think I'm going to finish the quilt this winter, but I would like to make some progress on it. I just grabbed an assortment of squares. Oops, I didn't mean to flick you off, I'm so sorry. But my quilt's this kind of collection of pinks and burgundies and oranges. And then I also have quite a few neutrals running through. Lots of very fun, pretty fabrics, but it is just a plain patchwork quilt. I'm not really following a pattern. I am hoping, kind of like an arbitrary goal I have for myself is to maybe finish sewing the horizontal strips of the quilt. So, you know, patchwork is just sewing squares together. So like I'm sewing my horizontal strips and then I will join those vertically. So I do think it would be really nice if by the end of winter I got the horizontal strips sewn. And yeah, made some progress on the quilt. Quilts are definitely long-term projects for me. So yeah, not looking to finish it, but to get back to it and make some progress on it. I feel like I'm being really redundant. I'm so sorry, but that is my final sewing project. So we've got 2 shirts and some quilt work, which ultimately I think each of those things would take like a day or two. Sewing is so fast, much faster than knitting. So I'm hoping to carve out a bit of time each month to do some sewing. And that is everything for the day. Again, I'm really excited to see if I can stick to my plans or like how accurate my estimations are for how long things will take. I'll probably do my spring knitting and sewing plans at the end of February, and so we'll recap then how my planning went, if I stuck to it, what I got done. But yes, next week I will be coming at you with another video about what I worked on in the month of November. It is the last weekend in November next week, so we'll do a bit of a monthly recap on what I've been working on. And yeah, it's crazy that it's almost the end of November. I can't believe it. Time just flies by so quickly. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again next week. Bye everyone.